Welcome to Opportunity Minded, a series for enterprise leaders, corporate strategists, and forward thinkers like you who want to drive business growth. Each episode focuses on a distinct strategic approach to help you unlock opportunities with actionable insights. I'm your host, Jessica, a producer at Euromonitor International, and today I'm joined by two guests, Ali Angus, who leads our innovation practice, and Brianna Makar, an innovation manager. Unsurprisingly, Brianna and Ali are here today to talk about innovation, specifically how data-backed innovation planning can help support business growth. So I want to start off by asking you both a little question. If you could create a product that combines two things that you love, what would it be and how would it work?
Okay, that's a fun question. So I love animals and I love a bit of music. So I'm thinking a silent disco experience designed for dogs and their owners. What do we think? So I guess I
That's
wear
fun.
headphones and connect to the music, and a dog wears a collar with a very lightweight headphones in it with soft doggy friendly music,
I don't know what kind of music you would play for dogs, but I'm really into
calming.
what the development process would be like on this product. Brianna, what about you?
Gosh, I love to travel, like I think so many of my colleagues here do. So I would say I would love a travel experience that was maybe like piggybacking off of things that were catered, like we see like the river cruises for older generations. I would love like not a resort experience, but something that was all around experience in one location. So no thinking, but get to come and do more than say just like relax on the beach. Because I think planning is sometimes the hardest part, but I want to do it so much and it's always like that lead up time. So if someone could do something that's like an all inclusive, but experiences and they plan it out for you and you get to like pick from a menu, I think that would be really fun.
Oh, this is excellent. I think we have some travel contacts, so we'll see if we can make this happen.
Make it happen.
Well, both of those sound extremely innovative to me. But I'd like to start off with some definitions here since we are talking about innovation. We hear that all the time, but what does it actually mean?
When we hear our clients talk about this and in companies across all industries, when we say innovation, we're really talking about creating new products or services. And I think inherently what drives that creation is solving a consumer problem or a pain point. So often that can be something like a new brand, it could be a totally new product, or maybe something like a meaningful extension of a current product. So something that delivers on a gap or something that people need that they aren't finding today.
Innovation can manifest in different ways, right? And the way we look at it is through a framework of renovation, innovation, and disruption. And so, what are those things? So, renovation starts is a brand. It takes what it already has, it makes it better or makes it more relevant for consumers today. It leverages on what's already popular and already familiar. So it could be tweaking a recipe with new ingredients. It could be even rebranding, like a new name or new packaging. Then you have innovation, and that's a bigger leap in comparison. That's where a brand will launch something much more transformational. It could open up a whole new use or occasion or develop a different format that attracts maybe a new audience. So think about things like when on the go products took off. And then there's disruption, and this is the rare one. This is when a product or a service completely changes consumer behavior. It rewrites the rules of how things are done. So it's when something comes along and people start saying, well, we don't do it the old way anymore. And we don't see that type of disruption really happening too often.
Do you have some examples of what this looks like in the real world?
Yeah, actually, we thought it would be fun. Allie and I prepared a little game that uses the framework that ultimately Allie and our teams use all the time to try to understand if we're looking at a product example or a question from a client. Is it renovation, innovation, or disruption?
Exciting.
So
I've
we'll put
gained
you on the spot a little.
Let's have some fun. So, Brianna and I, we're going to give you some examples, and Jesse, you have to tell us which strategy we're describing, whether it's renovation, innovation, or disruption. Okay.
Okay, got it.
So I'll start. Most laundry detergents, they come in liquid format, right? But now brands come out with a new format. It's a dissolvable tile. It's a totally different format, but it does the same job.
That sounds like innovation to me.
Yes. Well done.
Yay!
So painful. I got it out though. Innovation.
Perfect. So let's go to the next one and see if we can get 2 for 2. Um, so we're seeing a product come out, and it's being advertised as a reformulation, and it's a snacking chip. And what they're really pushing is using all natural instead of artificial ingredients. So I would say we see this example across industries all the time. So thinking of those 3 buckets, what do you think, Jess?
I think that this is renovation.
Yay, 2 for 2.
Let's go for
Ooh.
3.
All right, all right.
This time we've got a snack bar brand, and it's launching new pack types, new pack sizes. So let's say it's launching a smaller version, maybe a low calorie version, so you can grab a lighter snack. And at the same time, it's launching some bigger sharing party packs. So what's this one?
Oh, this is tough because I feel like there are new use cases here for the product, but I still think that this is closer to renovation.
Yay! 3 out of 3.
All right, we have 2 more, so we'll
Okay.
go for the golden 5.
Ooh.
So for our next one, we're thinking about a product that offers something totally different. And in this case, our example that we have seen is something like a 3D printed food. So now a consumer can buy a 3D printer at home and they have access to print whatever they want. Maybe it's a toy part, maybe it's, something that they consume. So thinking about that ability, that 3D printing technology, where would that fall on our spectrum?
This is for sure disruption.
Yay! And I
Yay.
think we have one more, Allie.
Oh, we have one more. No pressure, but can she get the 5? Okay, then, last one. Sunscreen. It's for the beach, it's for the pool, it's for outdoor activities, right? But now we've got a product that's come along, and it also protects you from things like UV and blue light, so your laptop, etc. Suddenly, it's an everyday product. It's an all year round product for indoor use, for outdoor use.
I think that this one is innovation.
You're right. It is.
Well,
Cool.
this
Well
was fun.
done.
Thank you.
Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
No.
So we only had one disruption in
Mm.
there. So I'm wondering, we kind of hold up disruption as this sort of ideal. Is disruption always the goal when you're going through the planning process?
No, no, absolutely not. I mean, obviously, disruption is something everybody would love to do because it has such a massive impact. But disruption is actually very rare, very hard to do, like we've said. So actually, when you look at the passport innovation tracking data, most brands focus on what we call renovation, and that data shows us that 90% of new products launched in the last couple of years, so since the beginning of 2023, they've been new varieties of existing products, so new flavors, new scents, new packet size, and that's renovation, and that's where we see the bulk of the activity.
To build on Allie's point, why we see so much of that is it's less risky, it costs less. So I think that's why we see most brands really focusing on that, trying to get things to market as quick as possible, where true innovation can take a lot longer to go through all of the processes, especially depending on category and industry. So I think our data just kind of, puts numbers behind that narrative that makes a lot of just practical sense.
I want to go back quickly to our definition because if innovating is developing goods and services to meet consumer needs, then consumers are a whole half of that definition of the equation.
Consumer centricity is everything in this day and age. For brands, they have to get under the skin of the real issues their customers face, right? They need to understand those pain points and unmet needs that Brianna mentioned. And that's the first and foremost thing they have to do. And one of the biggest mistakes companies make is skipping that phase. The days of make it and they'll come and buy it, they're gone. We now live in a world, this consumer pull world. So success comes from designing around what people truly want and value. So staying ahead of those consumer behavior traits, those cultural trends is really important. If it doesn't meet a consumer need, then it won't succeed, no matter how good the innovation is.
How are companies supposed to know what consumers are going to want in the future, next quarter, 2 years from now?
They need to start by tapping into real consumer insights, real data, understanding both what the current trends are, what we call in Euromonitor our global consumer trends, what's happening now and in the year ahead, and then also the longer term trends, the megatrends as we call them. Understanding what trends are impacting the market is critical. But also what companies talk to us a lot about is understanding that level of impact. They want to put a figure behind it. They want to put some data behind it to see what it really means. So what we did, we developed a proprietary quantification model for megatrends to show that future spending trajectory that relates to the trends. So having that insight as to where the trend's heading is super helpful and can help the C-suite support what they're being told about what consumers want. They can see where it's going.
Megatrends by nature are these big, big ideas. I mean, it's right there in the name, right? But how do you translate that data into knowing where you specifically should be investing?
Megatrends inherently shouldn't be surprising to companies, to even probably most consumers. They've heard of most of them. But I think where it comes is really thinking down what is the category impact? What is the generation impact? What is the country impact? What we tell clients is we have to prioritize those for your category, for your industry again. One product that addresses all five is probably falling short on all five. Like you can't do everything. So ultimately, using our data to figure out where is there growth pockets that match your product and consumer, I think is where we always point clients and really get them down in the weeds to see that impact and see that innovation succeed. And I think that the idea of taking a trend, let's use the wellness, then you have to say, okay, what does wellness mean in shampoo? Is it ingredients? Is it claims? What is it that ultimately matters the most? And I think when you can get down to even something as clear as a clean scent that gives that spa feeling, say, and it makes people feel wellness, I think that niche or that lane is how you bring those mega trends down to the product. And I think ultimately where you get things down to the granular level is where that innovation will be more successful. And in my example was probably more of a renovation again, but I still think the same process of high trickle down backed by data, and solving that need or that gap is really where we see clients see most success with innovation as well as having those informed decisions.
So we can take our broad trends, we can get them down into this granular detail that you're talking about. But is there any danger in sort of keeping that scope really narrow on your sector, your category?
We know that the consumer landscape is changing so fast. New consumer behaviors, new occasions, they're popping up all the time. So by checking out what's working in other areas beyond your category, you can then stumble on some great ideas. You can learn from others that are really going to help your business. And actually, maybe let's take the shampoo example. If you're looking at shampoo, if you look at deodorants, if you look at cleansing or whatever else it might be, and maybe looking at formats, and then we get things like shampoo bars, where we see deodorant bars and we see other things happening. So you start to learn what's resonating in other areas can actually offer maybe growth opportunities in your own.
Yeah, and I think even beyond just the inspiration lens that Allie's talking about, I think we always say by if you're just keeping up with what's on shelf, is that really just a copycat? How do you stand out if you're just trying to keep up? And I think, what our clients say to us a lot in those terms is like, we're not even just competing anymore with who's next to us on shelf. Our competitive sphere has grown beyond our products, sometimes beyond our category. And maybe even who their typical consumer used to be is now changing. And so I think ultimately clients in any industry need to cast a wider net when they're looking at data, when they're looking at innovation, not only just to get something new in their product, but to understand what that competitive set looks like. It's not just maybe who they competed against 5, 10 years ago. So I think it creates a really interesting environment, because I think it almost forces brands to think about innovation. I think the idea of complacency and this has always worked for us and we're just going to stay the course. I think with so many choices now and so much influence and exposure, I don't know that that's a strategy that we see working for most brands.
So then how do they go about casting that wider net? That sounds like a really broad net to have for your business.
Yeah, for brands, they need to look at what's happening. They need to look at what products are launching out across different spaces, across different categories. But they need to go further than that. I think the real insight, the real knowledge comes from actually monitoring those products and seeing how they evolve over time, see what succeeds, what scales, but actually also what fades away, right? So they can see those things, and then they look at that's those successes, those failures, and they look for the patterns behind them. They look for what's trending. They can identify common attributes among those successful products. So what's gaining traction? What are the attributes behind those? But doing the same for what fails, that kind of knowledge, that intelligence is gold dust, right? That it helps brands spot what those emerging consumer needs really, really are. And it helps them avoid really costly mistakes. Because as we said right up front, if you don't get that consumer insight right at the beginning, then you've missed a chunk of where you should be heading.
Brianna, I saw you like really nodding along.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
Gold dust.
sometimes tracking the failures or tracking when things fall off is just as
Mhm.
important as the successes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think at Euromonitor, we're data driven. And so I think, kind of voicing over to Ali's process is really about monitoring. And it's really about watching when they ebb, when they flow, when they appear in new retailers, new channels. I think at Euromonitor, we use a lot in our passport innovation system to try to see at that SKU level, where are there patterns? Where are things, is it we see a huge rush in year 1 and by year 3, as Ali mentioned, all of them are gone? Or is it that everyone started on an Amazon and now all of a sudden they've gone to brick and mortar as well as e-commerce? Does that indicate it, right? Because often I think people want to see a huge revenue and a huge growth in the first year or two. And what we really see in most innovations is that's not usually the case. So we look in our data for more of these indicators, I would say, that could indicate success, that almost give you brands to watch. And I think that's sometimes the most powerful tool in terms of following innovation, staying abreast of competition, and knowing where to place your bets. So I think when you can follow Ali's process with a strong data set that you keep an eye on regularly, that can really put you in the best place to have a successful launch.
Well, I definitely want to talk more about this. It's very exciting. What we can learn from successes, what we can learn from failures. But first, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will hear more from Ali and Brianna and play a game where we learn what product claims are gaining traction. And just like a great product launch, I hope you stick around.
What is the key to successful product innovation? A bright idea is a great start, but successful innovation relies on more than just inspiration. To create a winning product innovation strategy, you need an insights-driven, data-led, and a consumer-centric approach. Euromonitor's new Passport Innovation platform will help you achieve just that. Through our machine learning models that use proprietary SKU-level data, you can find out about new product launches happening around the world faster than ever before. Our unique ability to monitor product launches allows you to track both product expansions and withdrawal. But we don't just spot innovation. We analyze the why behind it as well. Combining our extensive data science capabilities, deep industry expertise, and the global analysis on consumer megatrends will help you to unlock key insights on how and why categories are being disrupted. To find out more, get in touch with us today for a product demo.
All right, welcome back. Once a product launches, how do you actually know if it's sticking around or if it's successful?
it comes back to that tracking again. Our passport innovation data gives that visibility of exactly that. And it's updated monthly. So you can see whether a product is staying active, literally you can see month by month what's happening across all the products. So you can see when a product's still active, but you can see when it drops off, when it disappears. And you can also see when it gains traction. So can you see it expanding into more retailers? Can you see it expanding into new markets? And if it keeps going strong and if it continues to expand like that, that's a great sign. That's where it's got what we call sticking power, staying power, one of those two things. But on the flip side, and as we've touched on, products that don't make it, that fail, can teach us a lot too, right? So that can help us understand more about what doesn't work as well. So it's really important to keep an eye on what's sticking and what doesn't, so what's fading, because both of them really offer valuable insights for innovation planning.
And what types of things can you learn from those products that aren't sticking around?
There's so much you can take from this. Usually the products that disappear, it's down to poor market fit, it's down to misalignment with consumer preferences. Maybe the format was off, maybe the ingredients weren't right, maybe the claims missed that mark. And actually, I'll give you an example here with the passport innovation system. We were looking at tea the other day and the new products that were launched in 2023. 50% of those products that launched in 2023 with a hydrating claim, they'd gone within a year. And yet, if you look at new product launches with hydrating claims, they tend to work really well when you look at other categories, right? So then it says, "Paching, something's going on. I need to look at this." And actually, when you think about it, it's likely because of things like consumers already view tea as hydrating, right? That claim is almost a wasted claim. It's not adding any real value. So the lesson here is that a winning feature in one category doesn't necessarily translate into others. Brands need to understand what truly matters to that audience. And just one thing, if I can add to that, when you track products over time and you see what's disappearing, you need to track them over a decent amount of time, probably at least a year, because sometimes you see products disappear, but it could be because they're seasonal. It could be that they're, special editions or something, and they come back.
It sounds like all of these pieces are starting to come together here then. So we've got the consumer piece, we've got tracking products, we know what successes and failures look like. So being opportunity minded, is this where we start to see those white space opportunities?
Absolutely. And I think that's something that so many people talk about, and it's not easy, right? It's not just something that you turn over and it's hidden there waiting. And I think what really is important here is that drawing from kind of the two areas we've talked about, the consumers and what they want, what they need, and then what are the brands and the companies offering. And so I think what we hear a lot, or we might see from some of those SKUs that all rush the shelf, like Allie's example with a hydration claim, and then a year later they're gone. They probably saw the growth in the claim of hydration, but they didn't think about the consumer, like Allie mentioned. Is it even worth it in a tea? Do people want it in a tea? Do they need it in a tea? They might like hydration. They might know that's a need that they have, but it's the wrong product. It's the wrong occasion. And so I think we work a lot with clients in the consulting side as well that want to discover that white space, but it takes time. And it's not just listening to what a consumer says, because they often don't know what they don't have. It's finding out what are they currently doing that isn't working, or what are they currently buying, and what are those issues or the needs that are not being fulfilled from their tea. And that's really the starting point. And then you figure out, what does the competition look like? So I think it's triangulating these two pieces to find where that opportunity lies. That is a great foundation for a lot of innovative products.
Speaking of looking at those claims and attributes, it's time for a little game to mix things up. Passport Innovation tracks the full product life cycle from launch to proliferation or discontinuation across 54 FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods categories, and 32 countries, highlighting the key attributes, claims, and flavors shaping demand. We've taken this data and turned it into a little game we're calling Data Duel. Welcome to Data Duel. I'm your host, Jessica Ridenauer, and we've got a good one for you today. We have two Euromonitor experts with us, and they're going to battle it out for a chance to win. I'm not quite sure what they're going to win. I keep getting to
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights.
rights, love it.
Yeah. On one side, we have our innovation practice leader who loves dancing with dogs in London. It's Ali and Angus. And on the other side, we have an innovation manager who loves to travel and wants everyone to figure out how she travels for her.
Love
A
that.
lazy traveler.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it. So if you're ready, let's play. Out of the thousands of new product launches our system tracked in the first half of 2025, we identified the most prominent flavors in soft drinks. So I've got the top 5 on the board. I thought slide, it's actually a slide, it's not a board. Someday I'll get the budget to have a board. So I'd like for you to guess which soft drink flavors are dominating new product launches. So it's the first one to call out an answer.
Mango.
Right away, Allie's got mango. Mango is our number 2 flavor in the first half of 2025 with 92 product launches.
That's good. I was going to say something fruity still. Like, I think we still see a lot of like different health fruit ones, like a dragon fruit or something a little more exotic.
Do we have dragon fruit? We do not have dragon
Ooh,
fruit.
Might be too
Oh.
market specific.
Oh, market specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, maybe like some inclusions, like I don't know, a lemonade or a raspberry, some pairings of flavors.
How about lemonade? You want to stick with lemon?
Yeah, I think that's
All
a
right.
good one.
I'm guiding you here. Do we have
I
lemon?
think that was guiding the answer.
She said lemonade first, so I just grabbed onto it. Do we have lemon? Aid? Well, we have lemon. It's 129 for our highest
Okay.
number of product launches. So we have our top 2, lemon and mango.
I reckon some sort of dark fruit, some summer fruit. Let's go with the basic strawberry.
Do we have strawberry? We have strawberry in the number 3 spot. You guys are like,
Oh,
"Ooh,
okay.
here." Number 3 is strawberry with 87, so not too far off from mango. All right, so the first half of the year, winter time, you get a present, and it's a little wrapped
Peppermint?
in foil, and it's chocolate and
Orange? Like a
Orange.
chocolate orange?
Do we
Okay,
have
Chocolate
okay.
orange. Oh my gosh.
we have orange, just slightly under strawberry. We have orange at 85 versus strawberry is 87. All right, we have one more, and this one might be a little bit tricky.
Maybe like a pineapple?
Ooh,
That
do
feels
we
popular.
have pineapple? Ah, that might be too seasonal. We don't have pineapple for the first half of 2025. Peach? Do we have peach? Peach is the number 5
Okay.
most prominent soft drink flavor in the first half of 2025, according to our Passport Innovation data.
I'm not surprised actually that there is something like orange in there. It's kind of the staple, isn't it, really?
I think these tell us table stakes. So maybe these are kind of like the bases or the foundation. And especially in drinks, we're seeing so much like interesting combinations. But like this kind of tells me like some of these maybe like there needs to be that familiar. So you can experiment with my dragon fruit or something a little bit off. But ultimately you need kind of that base flavor that's known and familiar. And I think we see a lot of that, especially in markets like the US, mixing flavors,
Yeah.
taking something known and adding to it. So I think that makes sense.
Well, let's assume that we've gotten our peach flavored soft drink formulated and we're ready to go to market. We have done our research, we've made our innovation investment, we've identified the intersection between market trends and consumer solutions. What could go wrong at this point?
You could have developed the best product, a great product, right? But yeah, things can go wrong at launch. If a brand has got stuck on perfecting the product, taking too long, they don't launch in a timely way, they launch too late, they miss the first mover advantage for a start, or if they haven't focused enough on that whole go-to-market strategy, they could make another of various mistakes. They could partner with the wrong retailer. They could launch in the wrong market. They haven't done their planning well at all. So, what is as important as developing the right product is to have a really well-planned launch strategy.
All right, before we go, quickly, if you had one piece of advice to a company that is trying to improve their innovation practice, in one sentence, what would that piece of advice be?
Do the upfront work, sort of know your target audience, do your research, learn from other product launches, learn from what succeeds and what doesn't. And like we mentioned as well before, look broadly, don't just look in your own space.
Yeah, I think it's just the importance of being data driven, to echo Allie's point of just making decisions based on data. We've heard things from clients where they haven't looked at the data of what people are doing. They haven't looked at what other brands have failed in a market, and they might come in where they think there's a gap, but in reality, it's just other people have tried and it's not the right mix. It's not the right product.
I'd really like to know, since you guys do spend so much time looking at innovation, what's the most fun or standout new product that you've spotted recently?
I recently saw this summer for kids two things that were unique to me. One is a patch that you put on your kids or yourself at the beach, and it lets you know when your sunscreen is basically not working anymore. And in the same vein, I think it speaks to new formats. We found this summer, released in the US, they're bug patches. So if you're out with kids, especially sunscreen, spray, it's really hard. So both of these are interesting. They're new formats, kind of seeing that patch come into new categories again. So could it be seasonal? Probably somewhere in the Midwest, like we're at in Chicago. I wish we could wear sun patches all year long, but let's be real. So it could definitely be something to watch. Just, I think, new categories and beauty that are exploring some new options.
Well, I'm a bug magnet, so I'm going to keep an eye out for those bug patches.
Okay, so actually, my example was older. So when we launched our innovation system, our innovation NPD tracker, we spotted this new brand in August 2021 called Dirty. And it was at the time a new functional iced tea brand. It was owned by rapper Shirin David. It was launched in Germany. The product stood out. They were really bold, playful packaging, and it was an RTDT with benefits. It had that whole benefits vibe in terms of it had functionality. So it did really well. This was innovation, right? It's a new brand. It's come on the market, and it really did well. It expanded into more retailers very, very quickly. It expanded across markets quickly, and it even launched an alcoholic version, so it expanded into a different category. And then 2024, poof, it was gone, and we were actually pretty devastated. So it turns out they had supplier issues, and then really great news, March this year, it's back. It came back, it popped up on the system, and we thought fantastic, and it's come back with a real glow up. It's got smaller cans, it's got a new look, a really sharp repositioning of it. So it went from innovation originally, and then to a classic renovation move, and that's why I wanted to highlight this one, because it highlights those two different strategies. So let's see how it goes. I feel that we're on this journey with it, so we're there. Let's see where it lands.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on
Dirty.
Yeah. And with that, I'd like to thank all of our listeners for tuning into this episode of Opportunity Minded, brought to you by Euromonitor International, the first destination for organizations seeking growth. A big thank you to Ali and Brianna for joining us today. Where can people get in touch with you?
Get in touch with us on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Feel free to connect there.
Yeah, let's do that.
Stay connected with us on social media or visit our website to explore more resources and join our community. And until next time, stay opportunity minded. You guys know the top three. These other ones are a little bit trickier.
If you'd have said Terry's chocolate, I would have got the orange.
I didn't know the brand name. I just know that it's a Christmassy thing.